Join me as I dive into the challenge of using real military tactics to win what seems like an impossible war in the world of modern warfare. Traditional war tactics often fall short when faced with unconventional enemies or seemingly insurmountable odds. That's why we're going to explore the concept of using real military tactics to turn the tide in our favor. These military tactics are designed to be adaptable, flexible, and effective in the face of uncertainty. The military has always been at the forefront of innovation, and its military tactics have been honed through centuries of conflict. From the ancient phalanx formation to modern-day drone warfare, military tactics have one goal in mind: to win. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The idea of using real military tactics in modern warfare scenarios might seem counterintuitive. But trust me, it's more relevant today than ever before. With the rise of asymmetric warfare and non-state actors, traditional military tactics need to evolve to stay ahead of the curve. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. In recent years, we've seen numerous conflicts where traditional military might has been unable to secure a decisive victory. From the streets of Mosul to the hills of Kunduz, modern warfare has proven to be a complex and frustrating beast. That's why we need to think outside the box and draw inspiration from the rich history of military tactics. Let's take a step back and examine a specific scenario where traditional tactics have failed, highlighting the stakes involved. Imagine a war-torn city, torn apart by sectarian violence and insurgency. The government is struggling to maintain control, and the international community is hesitant to intervene. The stakes are high, with thousands of innocent lives caught in the crossfire. In this scenario, the enemy is highly adaptable, using guerrilla warfare and terrorist tactics to great effect. The government's military is struggling to contain the situation, and morale is at an all-time low. The international community is calling for a peaceful resolution, but it seems like a distant dream. The situation seems hopeless, but that's exactly where real military tactics come in. By studying the masters of unconventional warfare, from the ancient Greeks to modern-day special forces, we can learn valuable lessons about how to adapt and overcome in the face of uncertainty. The first thing we need to do is understand the nature of the conflict. This isn't a traditional war, where armies clash on the battlefield. This is a war of attrition, where the enemy is hiding in the shadows, waiting to strike. We need to be prepared to think differently, to anticipate and adapt to the enemy's tactics. That means we need to get creative with our military tactics. We need to use speed and agility to outmaneuver the enemy, exploiting their weaknesses and catching them off guard. We need to be prepared to take calculated risks, to push the boundaries of what's considered acceptable in modern warfare. The key to success lies in understanding the psychology of the enemy. What drives them? What are their motivations? Once we understand that, we can start to develop tactics that play on those weaknesses. We can use propaganda and misinformation to confuse and demoralize the enemy, making it easier to defeat them on the battlefield. One of the most effective tactics in modern warfare is the use of special forces. These elite soldiers are trained to operate behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence and conducting sabotage operations. They're the tip of the spear, the cutting edge of modern warfare. Another tactic that's gained popularity in recent years is the use of drone warfare. These unmanned aerial vehicles can provide real-time intelligence and strike targets with precision, minimizing collateral damage and civilian casualties. But military tactics aren't just about winning battles. They're also about winning hearts and minds. We need to understand the local culture, to work with local leaders and build trust with the population. That's how we can create a sustainable peace, one that lasts long after the guns fall silent. In the midst of chaos, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. But we need to remember that war is a means to an end, not an end in itself. The ultimate goal is to create a stable, peaceful environment where people can live without fear of violence. Now, let's take a closer look at some specific military tactics that have been used to great effect in challenging situations. From the ancient Greeks' use of phalanx formations to modern-day special forces use of unconventional warfare, we're going to examine the tactics that have made a real difference on the battlefield. One of the most famous examples of effective military tactics is the Battle of Gaugamela, where Alexander the Great's outnumbered army defeated the Persian Empire. Alexander's use of phalanx formations and lightning-fast cavalry attacks caught the Persians off guard, securing a decisive victory. In modern times, we can look to the US military's use of special forces in Afghanistan. These elite soldiers were able to operate behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence and conducting sabotage operations. That weakened the Taliban's grip on the country. Another example is the Soviet Union's use of unconventional warfare. In Afghanistan during the 1980s, the Soviets used tactics like ambushes, sabotage, and raids to great effect, slowly but surely wearing down the Mujahideen resistance. In more recent times, we can look to the Israeli military's use of drone warfare in Gaza. These unmanned aerial vehicles have provided real-time intelligence and precision strike capabilities, minimizing civilian casualties and maximizing military effectiveness. One tactic that stands out as particularly effective is the use of PSYOPs, or psychological operations. By spreading misinformation and propaganda, military forces can confuse and demoralize the enemy, making it easier to defeat them on the battlefield. A pivotal moment that stands out is the Battle of Stalingrad, where the Soviet Union's Red Army was able to encircle and defeat the German Sixth Army. This battle marked a turning point in World War II, as it showed the world that the Germans were not invincible. In a more recent example, we can look to the Iraqi military's use of urban warfare tactics in Mosul. By using snipers, ambushes, and booby traps, the Iraqis were able to slowly but surely drive ISIS out of the city. As we can see, real military tactics have been used to great effect in challenging situations throughout history. But it's not just about winning battles, it's about winning hearts and minds. As we move forward, it's essential to remember that military tactics need to evolve to stay ahead of the curve. We need to be prepared to adapt and innovate, to think outside the box and push the boundaries of what's considered acceptable in modern warfare. In conclusion, using real military tactics to win what seems like an impossible war is not just a pipe dream. It's a reality that has been proven time and time again throughout history. By studying the masters of unconventional warfare, by adapting and innovating, and by understanding the psychology of the enemy, we can overcome even the most seemingly insurmountable challenges. So, what do you think about the tactics we've discussed today? Do you have any favorite military tactics or historical examples that you'd like to share? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out another video on military strategy or warfare. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. This is History Replay, This Day.